Joining me right now is Avery Freeman, a civil rights attorney and law professor, and Richard Herman, a criminal defense attorney and law professor. Good to see you both. All right, so very good. So, Richard, you first. You know, the State Department is the one that is denying or recognizing Simone as a U.S. citizen because both of these gentlemen living abroad, working for the U.S. State Department. At least one of them was. The child is, birthed in England by way of a surrogate, but by way of one of the fathers, there is a biological connection to Simone. So now help us understand how it is that the State Department would be able to deny citizenship of a child which is biologically attached to at least one of those men who are in a legal same-sex marriage. I just got to lay it all out there because it's really, really complicated.
Yeah,
so now you pick it up from there. Right. Okay. Richard.
It's really not that complicated here, Fred, and I'll show you why. Here, what we're seeing is pretty much blatant discrimination by the Department of State, and they should know better. And lawyers spend their whole lives interpreting cases, watching precedent, stare decisis, listening to judges, and then advise their clients. But under this cult administration, where things have been turned upside down, you just can't do that. Here, what happened was the State Department turned down a right to get a passport for this little baby that was born from a same-sex marriage. Now, these two men were married in the state of New York legally. They had the child via surrogacy in England. And when they went to come back to get a passport, the Department of State says, no, because your same-sex marriage, we are going to treat this as if the child was born out of wedlock, and therefore different standards apply.
But there's the rub, because they are legally married. They are legally married, and that is recognized by the United States. So how is it that the State Department can say that, and that would be honored, especially when you're talking about, the service, right, of these individuals while working for the U.S. government and living abroad?
Well, that's the issue. I mean, in 2015, the Supreme Court laid to rest the constitutional question. Same-sex marriage is constitutional. In 2018, 2019, the State Department, an agency of the United States government, Frederica, think about that, is ignoring what the Supreme Court said. So under the Fifth Amendment, these two individuals are going forward in a federal district court, and frankly, a federal district judge will have very little difficulty in granting an injunction against the State Department for what they're doing. And frankly, I think it's mean-spirited, I think it's grotesque, the idea that an agency of the United States government would ignore a 4-year-old decision by the Supreme Court and penalize this couple, and frankly, baby Simone, the child, is just wrong, and ultimately, I think someone needs to be held accountable for it.
So then, Richard, what is going to be the argument on behalf of the U.S. government or the State Department to be able to say that we don't recognize this as, I don't even know what the approach is going to be. Is it going to start with, we don't recognize this to be a legal marriage, or we don't recognize, the biological connection to the child born abroad? I mean, how will that happen?
They're ignoring the case that Avery mentioned, the United States Supreme Court 2015, recognizing same-sex marriage. They're ignoring another Supreme Court decision in 2017 saying same-sex married couples have the same rights as opposite-sex marriage couples. They're ignoring all of that. They're trying to do a strict construction interpretation of this particular statute, and because they want to be in line and show the president who has been showing efforts to roll back protection.
But legally, will it be a
turning it into a political battle?
But Avery, then I wonder, legally, will it be a losing battle because, of the very precedent of the marriage being legal?
There is no legal argument that the State Department has. It's not a political issue, it is a legal issue. And it gets right down to not an agency, but some ministerial functionary dolt at the State Department wanting to do it his own way. Remember the Kim Davis case, that Kentucky clerk that wouldn't issue a license because she was against same-sex marriage? It's the same thing. We need to find out who it is. That individual has to go. That passport has to issue. This case is not complicated. Any first-year law student would know how to answer it, and the State Department is going to be held liable, responsible for what they have done here.
The problem is, Fred, that nothing is that certain under this administration. Subpoenas get issued, people ignore them. People violate laws, they don't get prosecuted. You don't know how this is going to come down, Avery. You would think, logically, legally, this child should get citizenship. She only has a 90-day visa right now, and legally, under this statute and the law, she should, because the same civil rights that apply to married couples apply to same-sex married couples.
Right.
So you would think but you never know. You never know what's going to happen here, Fred.
I don't buy it for a minute.
Yeah,
they're going to win hands down.
Okay. Avery Friedman, Richard Herman, good to see you all. Thank you so much.
Good to see you. Take care.